And I'm just going to actually double check something here. Give me a second. Okay, welcome to the program, everyone, and really pleased to have in Los Angeles right now is Haux. He has a new album out. This is your first full-length album. I know you've had EPs in the past. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's good to be here, and yeah, I've had two EPs, and this is my first full-length record.
yeah. Just going through the songs, over the last couple of weeks. The title is phenomenal. I love the title. It's open to all kinds of interpretation, I guess. But this album in particular, called "Violence in a Quiet Mind," seems to be a lot of about your personal experiences. Would that be true?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, yeah, the name came out of a lyric of the first song, "Hold On," and it kind of happened naturally, but it's very much an album about my own childhood and kind of what I went through as a kid and being a shy kid and a person that didn't really talk about things and dealt with them a lot internally. So yeah, this record is basically a collection of stories from then, basically.
Yeah. How easy or how difficult was it to do that? I mean, did you find some of that therapeutic for yourself?
It's always therapeutic. I think writing songs is therapy to me. Um, I thought a lot about what I was going to write for my first record. I put a lot of pressure on myself, and in the end, I just kind of had to get out of the way and start writing. And these songs were the ones that came out, and it happened pretty quickly. About, you know 3 weeks for 8 of the songs, and then the whole process was about 6 months of writing. Uh, so once I got out of the way, it really started flowing, and I knew that it was kind of going to be about my childhood and stories from back then.
Yeah, no, it's really well done, and thanks for sharing this with everyone. Do you hope that people are listening and it resonates with them?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I feel like my favorite work is always incredibly personal and intimate, and it feels like I'm let into a part of the artist's life, um, or their kind of things they wouldn't say to anybody else, and I think that's what this album is, and I hope why it connects with people is because it is so personal to me, and was a really hard thing uh, to actually get through.
Yeah. um, More and more artists, in particular in electronic music, I think, and other genres of music too, are talking more about mental health and addictions. Um, and there seems to be much more of less stigma attached, I guess. If you looked at musicians in the sort of 70s, 80s, and 90s, probably too, it's kind of go hard, don't talk about anything that's emotional or personal to you. It seems to be a shift in that. Are you seeing that too?
Yeah, it definitely completely. It's definitely a different time now, and it's still hard to talk about addiction. I think, and slowly, it's been really hard for me to do it, just because I've grown up in a family that didn't like to talk about it. So once I kind of got over that hurdle, which was through therapy, actual therapy, and talking to someone, and talking to friends, and friends being open to talking about addiction and things like that. It really kind of helped me start making headway into having those conversations, because I grew up not really having them at all. So this album was kind of the first time I really started doing that work internally and looking at those darker parts of my childhood, and trying to understand them. But in a broader context, I'm really happy that people are talking about these things more openly.
Yeah.
It's just, there's less of a stigma, and you know, if you're a kid growing up and you experience these things, there's nothing better than knowing that like there's someone out there who is sharing your experience. Um, and I never had that in kind of like a direct way, but music was always my kind of way to tap into those feelings. So
Yeah, what an inspiration, and I think it's important to have role models for people that are struggling out there, and not necessarily always you have to know the people struggling. I think sometimes it's even better when they're from a distance,
definitely.
because you begin to create your own narrative about them, and that can be very helpful. That's great. You signed to Ultra Records, right? And you've been with them for quite a while. Tell us about that and that journey, because Ultra, I think, has a bit of a stereotype of being a little more dance floor orientated, primarily. But tell us about that, how you got connected to them.
Yeah, it was pretty early in the process, to be honest. It was back in 2016, I think, or 2017. But they were just really supportive of my music and one of the first labels that reached out. Uh, and I had a stigma of labels being like, you know, big bad wolf kind of thing. And also Ultra being such a dance electronic label.
Yeah.
I was like, why are they interested in me? I have electronic guitar, but beyond that, it's pretty much like folk music.
Yeah.
So once I spoke to them and had a few meetings, it was clear that they were interested in kind of expanding their brand and you know finding artists that kind of uh, fit multiple kind of landscapes like me and and they were just really supportive. And I honestly, they've been incredibly supportive since then. So I have, like all positive things to say about them. Um, and yeah, and it's just been a really fun ride so far, and I'm excited to, continue on.
And I noted that some of your previous releases for over the last couple of years, in particular the track "Homegrown," has been remixed by several different people. Built more probably for the dance floor, but good listening music too. Still doesn't the vocals really stand out in all those remixes actually. Any kind of plans with the new album to do this a similar thing?
So what's the question? Sorry, I missed that.
Sorry, is there any plans to do remixes like you did with Homegrown on the new album?
Yeah, we're working on that at the moment and sussing that out. It's not for sure yet, but I hope that there'll be some in the near
Yeah.
future. Yeah.
And how hands on are you with those remixes? Do you just let the artist handle it, or are you kind of collaborating with those remixes?
No, most of the time it's like I'll either have someone reach out to me or I'll create a list of people that I'd love to have remix the songs. And then from that list, things work out and things don't work out. But in terms of the actual creation of those remixes, I leave the majority of that to the artist who's doing it. And most of the time don't really dip into that process unless it doesn't feel right or something like that.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
Looking forward to that too.
yeah, me too.
It's been a challenging time for the world over the last 6 months. COVID-19 obviously has really impacted the live music world and sort of the whole industry as a whole in terms of live performances. How are you doing with that, and what have been the ups and downs with that? Because when I talk to artists, I think there's been some positivity around COVID. Some people are relaxing more creative, spending more time on music production, and then others are feeling a bit of loss with connection with people and audiences. So how are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of been a private person, so touring was harder for me to get used to, but I learned to love it over the last few years and actually really miss it right now. I was getting a little stir crazy at home in Massachusetts, and So I decided to take a road trip, and I've been on the road for the last 3 weeks or so since the album came out. Just because I didn't really know what to do with myself, and usually I'm on tour
Yeah.
right around the album, so it's actually felt really good to be in motion and kind of I'm not playing shows or anything, but it feels similar in that way. Um, yeah, I remember one of my favorite shows last tour was it was a few years ago at this point, but I played at the Drake Hotel, I think, in Toronto.
Aha,
And
yes.
that was a really nice night and a really fun couple days. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I miss traveling and everything. Obviously, I've been keeping busy and writing. It's just ebbs and flows for me always. I don't think this time has changed that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Any thoughts about any live streams? I know a lot of artists are doing that. It was really busy with that in March and April and maybe May. That died down a bit. He was a bit
yeah,
busy.
yeah, completely. Yeah, it was funny the way that happened. But I did one in March around the release of a single. I think it was Calico, maybe. And but yeah, definitely going to do that in the future. It's just I'm kind of busy at the moment writing for whatever comes next, and yeah, and traveling around. But it's always on my radar, and yeah, I just have to kind of talk myself into it a little bit. Yeah.
Right.
It feels weird sometimes having like not being in the same room and then having all of these people I know are watching me. It's strange.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for spending time with us, and congratulations on the album.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Piece of work, and we're looking forward to maybe remixes or new writings or new music coming out from you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. No, I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to being back in Toronto for sure.
Okay.